Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Rose Tarot and Astrology. I am your host, Mel Rose. Today is Friday, August 9, 2024. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are all well and thriving and looking forward to a good day. I certainly am. It's beautiful here in Lee Summit, Missouri. You can see that we have a nice shady but sunny morning out here on the porch. It's a little bit cool. Before we get into the day's astrology, I want to remind you that I'm giving a class through Nadia Shah's Synchronicity University coming up on Saturday, September 7. So you can take these classes for as little as $5 per class. I think the link will be in the description. Otherwise, just go ahead and look it up on Synchronicity University. You'll see my smiling face there, and you can sign up for this class I'm doing that's about finding comfort in your home using astrology, finding comfort in your private life using astrology. I don't necessarily think that everybody understands the importance of having comfort, of being at ease in your home, your private relationships, and your private spaces. But it is actually very important to your ability to rest and revive and create. So please join me for that class Saturday, September 7th, about the moon placement in your chart and what it is doing right now and how we use that information to navigate and create a comfortable circumstance for us in our lives. That's Synchronicity University. Today the sun is still in Leo. It's a little bit more than halfway through the Leo season, and this is the time of year when you can see the season just begin to give up a little bit. The sun has been, where I am in Missouri, it has been pretty blazing hot for a while, and now it's just starting to cool off. The leaves are just beginning to turn and fall a little bit. We had some rain yesterday. The reason I talk about the weather like this is really because I think it's important to observe the changing of the season from day to day if you can, because it helps us also integrate the changes that we go through from day to day as human beings. Now, the sun in Leo, the vibe of Leo is very much about pride and about ego. It's about how we personally shine in the world. Who was I listening to recently who was saying, I think it was Stormy Grace was saying, Leo is represented by the sun. So the sun in your chart, even if it's not in Leo, it's sort of a question of how you Leo, right? How do you ego? How do you shine? How do you show your pride? So, this is very much the vibe of the season, and it's important to have a little bit of ego. It's important to have a little bit of pride in the work that you're doing, in the way that you show up for people. It's important to garner appreciation for the things that you do, and also it's important to show appreciation for others. So, I like to remember that that Leo is the sun, and the sun is constant. It always shines the same way. It's not like the moon shifting in times and shifting in illumination. The sun just always shines as brightly as it can, and it touches everything with light and heat. And there would be no life on Earth, none of this beautiful greenery, and none of this you and me without the sun. So appreciate that. Don't try to pretend there is no ego. Don't try to pretend that you don't take pride in the things that you do, and don't try to pretend that you don't appreciate what other people bring to your life either. That would be the antithesis of the Leo season vibe. Okay. Now, the moon today is in Libra. It shifted into Libra yesterday morning, and it's a waxing crescent. So moon in Libra it's an air sign. It is cardinal, and Libra is very interested in our relationships, how we relate with other people, places, and things, how we feel about them, what kind of reciprocity we experience there, and also I would say, we feel in our bodies, even like as a physical sensation, the sense of balance that comes up in our relationships with others. Okay, so when things feel out of balance, there's usually a conversation that has to happen, right? Like, I'm not really certain about this, so I'm just going to touch base with you and make sure that we're on the same page. We're talking about the same thing. We feel the same way. It's really just about checking in with our partners in life, checking in with ourselves and our partnership with ourselves. Are we being fair to ourselves? Are we being fair to others? Are they being fair with us, right? So give as good as you get, right? Do your best to give as good as you get, and do your best to be in, sort of state of balanced cooperation and caring with your partners in life. And that's not just about your romantic partners, right? It's about the people that you keep close, your friends and loved ones. It's also about your workplace partners. Venus, which rules Libra, runs the gamut from your romantic partnerships and your family partnerships all the way over to your workplace partnerships. So it's about how we behave in a way that makes people want to interact with us, that makes people want to, enjoy our company or work with us, that kind of thing. And seek that balance, okay? Feel for the balance. If it's not there, find out what you can do to restore it. And then today at 4:45 p.m., and that's Central Standard Time, friends, so please adjust for your time zone. 4:45 p.m. today, the moon is going to go void of course. And this is a void of course that's going to last a long time. It lasts from 4:45 this evening, pardon me, until about 5:30 tomorrow evening. So this is almost a 24-hour. It's really about a 23-hour void of course. And of course, during the void of course moon, it's, I kind of compare it a little bit to a new moon, and I also compare it a little bit to a Mercury retrograde. This is just a time when, you can carry on with whatever it is that you've been up to. You can carry on with whatever it is that you've planned, but you really want to not try to set anything in stone, sign a contract, or make a big start on something fundamental, something that is important to your progress. Because what happens is when we make starts, when we try to make something solid that we started during the void of course moon, often it just sort of falls apart or has to change after that void of course moon is over. Okay, so after that moon moves on into the next sign, it kind of forgets what we were doing, and then we have to adjust and sort of reset our intentions. Now a plane is going to fly over, so it might get a little bit loud for a moment. My wife and I live just about a mile from a local airport, so part of the pleasure of sitting on the deck every morning is to listen to these planes take off, and then as the day progresses, they start to land as well. We're right on the flight path. So not right after, but after the moon goes void of course, okay, so when we're in the middle of this sort of lunar limbo, and remember, the moon is about our personal lives, it's about our private experience, it's about our homes and how things feel to us in our bodies and in our emotions. Shortly after we go to this void of course, the sun is going to make a challenging sort of aspect with Saturn today, and it's a quincunx, which means adjustment. And it's sort of like the sun is standing here I am, the sun, and Saturn is just sort of standing over here around a corner where I cannot see it, or I would have to shift my position to see it a little bit. Okay, so it's a little bit out of sight. It's a little bit kind of sneaking up on me. So what I would anticipate, and this is the vibe that I got from this, I kind of ran into this yesterday, and these vibrations, they do sort of, they come into fullness and then they leave fullness. So you'll feel them for a couple days coming up, and then you'll feel them for a couple of days leaving off, depending on how fast the closer planet is moving. But what I want to say about Sun quincunx to Saturn is, whatever progress it is that you were trying to make, on Wednesday we had this Sun sextile Jupiter, we had Mercury conjunct Venus. Yesterday we had that Lionsgate portal, which is supposed to be a time when we can really act on all of these things, are times when we can really act on the stuff that we want to see progress in, the things that we want to succeed, the things that we want to see grow. We can take action on those things, and see them come into fruition, see them come into their fullness. So this is a good time to be manifesting. This is a good time to be saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want for my near future and for my far future, and just take action in the direction of those things and watch them build for you. But with the Saturn quincunx today, what's going to happen is it'll feel like a wall has been thrown up. Like maybe you're trying to make progress on something and all of your paths to progress are just somehow being blocked, or they're not opening up for you, right? So that is a thing to notice, that the progress that you're looking for, that you're trying to make, that you want to act on, isn't really available to you for some reason. So, the question then is, are you going to change your plan? And of course, we're in Mercury retrograde, so it is about revising, reviewing our plans, making different plans, sort of changing it up a little bit, or sort of being willing to be flexible in terms of our negotiations and the plans that we're making. So for example, yesterday I just ran into this thing where I wasn't getting the progress I wanted out of a situation, and so I just decided, okay, I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna try a different path. Right? I'm trying to get to the same place. I went down this path. I found weeds and trees and debris in my way, and I could not get down the path. Right? So I'm backing up and I'm gonna take a different path. And it's appropriate to do that at this time when you see that blockage come up, when you notice that things are getting in your way, and Saturn has this serious way of like putting up a boundary and just saying, this is not really happening, So when you get to that point where you feel like, oh, this thing that I'm trying to do is really not happening, that's the time to edit. It's the time to review and try to do something else. And especially with the moon in Libra, if something feels patently unfair to you, or if you have been unfair to yourself, or unfair to somebody else, this is the time to back up and sort of edit that relationship, edit that way of being with somebody, so that you can set things right and get moving in the right direction again. So that is the astrology for today. That void of course moon again goes from 4:45 this evening to 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, Central Standard Time. So really, go ahead with your life, but I would not try to make any fresh plans. I would not try to sign any contracts or set anything in stone or start anything big during the next 23 or so hours after 4:45 p.m. tonight, okay? And then, this weekend is a pretty mild weekend. We do have the moon moving into Scorpio tomorrow, and it'll be in Scorpio on Sunday as well. And the moon is making some aspects. The moon always makes a lot of aspects. Pay attention to how things are feeling to you, okay? Pay attention to the physical sensation that arises with emotion, and the physical sensation that arises with intuition, and pay attention just to how things feel to you in your private life, okay? And what we're working for is comfort and a way to, indulge when the moon is in Scorpio, indulge our curiosity, okay? It's a time to sort of retreat and pay attention to what's going on the inside of our our lives, in our hearts, and there's this energy of sort of like clearing out the deadwood, weeding, taking out, making room in our hearts, okay? Getting rid of some old garbage and detritus, and making room in our hearts for bigger and better things, okay? And then coming up on Monday, we'll have the waxing half moon in Scorpio. That'll be a great time to start taking action on whatever it is that you've been trying to create or you've been planning to achieve in time for the full moon coming up next week. Next week is going to be a little bit bananas. It's going to be a little bit bonkers. There is a lot going on astrologically. On Wednesday, Mars is going to be conjunct Jupiter. So we have been moving toward this Mars conjunct Jupiter, and things have been coming up that show us Mars conjunct Jupiter. There was a news story last night about, and I think this happened locally, like two people were driving and they got in a car accident, and they were both just fine, and they both got out of their cars. And then one of them got back in their car to try to move their car out of the road. They wound up running over the other person, and then they wound up falling out of their own car and getting run over by their own car. Okay, so we've got Jupiter and Gemini, which makes things happen twice, and it also makes things involving twos just sort of blow up and get bigger than they need to be, right? And then you've got Mars coming in there, and that's like action, and it can be accidents, it can be just sort of aggressive things happening. Even if you're not trying to be aggressive, it's almost like we don't know our own strength, especially when Mars is conjunct to Jupiter. This is a very intense vibration of action and assertiveness and things getting bigger in the sign of Gemini, which makes things sort of split off into pairs, and you're doing things twice, and you're noticing that things that involve two things or involve pairs, they just kind of get bigger, they kind of blow up. So that is coming up. And if you're seeing that in your life right now, I wouldn't be too surprised. This coming Wednesday, also, Mercury is retrograde, and it's going to back on up into Leo. And Mercury in Leo retrograde is a little bit different vibe from Mercury in Virgo retrograde. So we're going to talk about that. Lots going on next week, but I will be here with you to talk about it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And now this video has gone a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. But I'm so happy that you joined me. Thank you so much for being here. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one on Monday.